All right, hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here. I'm doing a live recording. It's about 5 o'clock Wednesday evening. I wanted to go over the HPS setups, kind of review the main HPS setups for the week and which ones we're in, and the targets, defined targets and stuff like our Corning or Baxter or HEI. So these other ones, these are quality names. These really fall into that what we call a high probability setup definition. It's not a what I call a gamble or a spec stock or a penny stock like that, which are very driven by momentum and sometimes takes a little bit more understanding. You don't want to chase things too much. You always want to be selling into strength on these things. They don't usually last fast. It's more of a dangerous trade. These stocks here are kind of, we wait for them. We've been waiting for some of these stocks to kind of set up properly, and when they set up, that's when we take our position. Now options, we take a lot of these in the options, and I'll just bring up one for an example instead of keeping that Maryland. Say Corning, for example. A lot of these, Corning could be bought the stock too, but a lot of stocks are up there in the hundreds of dollars to price, and it kind of it does cost money to get these, but options are one way of also trading the the directional move, and it doesn't cost as much, and you get percentage wise you're usually doing a little bit better. So I mean, the options are the ways I usually take these. But the thing about the option is the downside of that is you're dealing with a time aspect that really cuts into the value of your option. So if you're not seeing a return, or it's not happening fast enough, there's a counterforce always working against you, decaying that stock price. So unless you're moving up aggressively, you're going to have to beat the stock decay and get going. So you have this, you have a couple of things against you. And that's why it's so sometimes easier to take a stock that's further out in time versus something that's very close to expiring, because then you're really dependent on a big, strong move instead of a choppy move. So Corning actually, I got out of it today. I actually took profits in it today. Even though I said my target was going to be that 20-period moving average, and honestly, I just wanted to get some wins under my belt. I've been giving back a lot of stuff and just trying to break that habit. It's been, but I think it's just because the market, certain stuff that I'm in, wasn't moving up. So if they're not moving up, like I said, the decay gets you. So I wanted to just kind of start building up some cash here. Take some profits a little bit faster. Maybe add to the Rockstar effect to give you guys a better, some more gains. Still looks good. I'd say my target still is that 20-period moving average on this. But we had such a great entry on this, and such a 3-day rally. I mean, either way, you're a winner. Either way. So again, that's basically the update on that one. The HEI is an interesting one, because this one, when did I get on this one? Monday or Friday? And again, it's really a very strong stock. If we go out, it's trading kind of closer to the highs. It had the double top high here. It's pulled back from that point, got oversold. A couple different ways you can look at the nice oversold, dual oversold level. Fine, it's been a very strong stock. Every time it gets oversold, you should buy it every time. So why not this time? So that's one of the reasons you wanted to buy it down here. Another reason is this had a channel breakout. This is the first rotation, so that qualifies for another HPS type of setup. It even had that island reversal if you want to dig down and look at possible real candlestick stuff, and it looks good. It looks, want to get a little further move on it, and probably will take profits. Most likely this one probably heads back up. I mean, technically it's pretty good. So that's, but you can see there's a common denominator for this week's stocks. It's really pulling back to what we know, going back to the basics, almost waiting for some really good setups. Don't tell you have to do that to kind of get yourself grounded again. The next one here, which was, I think I jumped in though, so a little fast. Well, I looked at this one on the 60, thinking it was the daily, but this was the one Oh, there's another one too that had that double gap down. I thought this was it. Maybe I looked at the 5. Trying to remember what time frame I was looking at on this. I know the 60 here. Again, here's your 1, 2, 3 channel. You broke out. You came back. You kind of held it. You really confirmed it. Then you had this trying to hold on. You had some news that really gapped it down and moved back up. Now we're coming back, and it's to be pretty aggressive, close to that trend line. Now this is really on the hourly oversold again. You know, best case scenario, this thing bounces tomorrow. And I think the worst case scenario gets down to that trend line, but I don't think that's a bad case. I think you just, you know, we're talking about the key to taking these setups is sometimes waiting for confirmation. Confirmation would be, you know, basically a change, either a higher high, which is kind of really starting off that change of trend. You know, something like that, very bullish you want. Something, a higher high to prove that the trend is changing. The stochastic starts to move back up. Once you have those things on your side, then you have the bigger possibility of these big, fast, explosive moves. Until then, you're playing with that game, that option decay game, and you might be close, but you might be off a week. So Baxter, I'd like to see that higher high. It's pretty much a 3 or 4 day consolidation period, so we get through that 81.74, probably very strong. Till then, it's not, you know, I wouldn't put it up on the top of the list. I definitely think some of the other ones are better, but this is something I'm in right now. Very small. I think just one contract, just to, you know, proof of concept. Putting a little in here, taking the HPS setups when I see them. Snowflake keeps on banging up against this one. It's an obvious one. I think a lot of people are looking at it, but I don't understand. You know, again, it's annoying because it's really just chopping around sideways in the same situation. You know, when it does move, it could get a big candle. It could be a 20-point day, easy. It has those days in it, but when is that going to happen? What's going to be catalyst? Are we going to have the market on our side? I'd love to get that and be in these things. I don't want to continue to just see these things chop around and but you know, the timing on this, I'm looking at. I mean, look at that 60-minute rotation down. If you looked at just taking the 60 on this, even though it's not a big trade, it is. You know, it actually is. It's an interesting move. It's almost a 1.5% move. But 40, that's a 5-point move actually off of that 60 minutes. So it's always, again, having that 60. Now we're kind of extended. It looks like it has a little more time to kind of chop around before setting up properly. We'll say, I mean, maybe we have some news on this, maybe not. Let's go over this one more time. It was really about the earnings here. The earnings kind of gapped down here, and then we popped back up, closed that gap, kind of rotated back, and then big candle, recovered, really holding that zone, you know, even pulled back, then big candle. We're back above this real, if we look at the profile here, this high. You know, we're kind of right at that level. I mean, if we could pull away from this zone a little bit more, I think we break free from that, which we're kind of trading above it right now. I'd say, you know, that's another way of looking at it. But we're looking at it through a microscope right now. Let's just let it be, let it happen. You know, it's been very strong as a Tesla, and I probably expect that one to continue to be strong. Big pop today. Typically follow, you know, you see big follow through days in this stock. Big pop, follow through, 3, 4, big pop, follow through. You know, even, well, here's not a big reversal, but if you look at, I'm looking at some follow through on this. Weekly starting to turn back up. 5 minutes actually very at the highs of the session right now. It's 5:07. It's probably closes much higher than this today. Going a couple more stocks here for going into tomorrow. And if you have any stocks in the room you think are set up here. So I didn't do anything with the PRAA, but I am continuing to watch that. And it did seem to kind of break down here, which is going to be really interesting off of this lower trend line. And we almost getting oversold. I would start watching this again. I was watching for a breakout. If we had a breakout, in this case, we're breaking down. So either way, I mean, that's what we're looking at, is some way of breaking out of this. I'm not worried about too much. I don't have a position in it yet. So, I don't know. I'll have to watch it tomorrow now that it's starting to move. The ITI, still, again, we're popping up against it 775. Now we pulled back a little bit further. I have a feeling this will probably have some news and it'll pop it aggressively to 9, maybe. I think I have an order already in to sell. Sell this, yeah, I do. At 960. So I have an order to sell at 960 on this. So you could front run me if you're listening to this right now. Go right ahead. My shares are not going to matter. Your shares are not going to matter. All right. Let's see. Boeing. How close can we get? It's starting to move out a little, but I wanted to really see this type of trend start. We had that big candle, a couple days of consolidation. Tomorrow, I mean, we're heading into a very bullish area. So let's see how the market opens up tomorrow. This can actually be a something that gaps and goes, and we can get finally get a nice move on it. No, we don't want to see this kind of crap for the whole month. That is Boeing. That was Boeing. Let's see what else we have. Did I go over to HEI or not? I don't know if I did or not. Yeah, that was a pullback. This one looks fine too. I'm just not adding to it. But again, all of these qualify for there's a reason behind this. Market stayed steady here. These will work out fine. If there's any type of real big distraction, which I don't see, because we're kind of getting through all that Fed talk. They've kind of played that card, and that's kind of getting behind us. So we're coming into that holiday week. I think probably going into the end of the week, we stay strong here going into next week. Maybe even new highs. Yeah, why not? I'm not even maybe, but we should hit new highs if we're going to stay up here. The coin. Let's see here. I did have a nice trade on the CVM. Had that pop and sold into that pop. Still waiting for data to come out on that. Could go either way. Net is net. I keep on feeling I should have bought more options out further and just held on to this one. This one's so strong and just such a good. Look at this thing going straight up. Wow. I mean, I'm just dying for some type of pullback in this. So let's go over the FISV. That's the one that's the only one that seems to be having stalling. It's not going up with the market. It is stalling here. We're kind of embedded, which is kind of a problem. We knew that coming into the trade. That was embedded. Could lead to some more downside, but I also think we're pretty close. And when we do get that pop, we should regain all those candles that we've been chopping around here at. The interesting thing here, I pointed out on the 60-minute time frame today.
Order filled. Order canceled.
If you go back on the 60, pretty much the whole, for the recent chop here, every 60-minute oversold level gave you at least a few candles upside. So we just started to get this here today, and it got a little choppy, but we ended up, I don't know even how we ended up here, but it looks like we ended up here at off the lows. We popped here, went up. The thing was, we started to get that 60-minute rotation, and it gave us a few candles before it did kind of get smacked down. And I think there was some Fed talk at this point, which kind of dropped a lot of stocks, and everything came back very aggressively. So that's kind of how we ended. The 60 is still kind of weak just because of that chop. But you do have now that 60 and that daily setting up. If we do drag down a little bit further, you know, we saw that weakness. Well, we'll have to make a decision. It doesn't get down to that trend line here until about 106. I'm probably a holder into that trend line too. I think we have enough time on this. We'll see. But 60-minute worked out pretty good earlier today. Now it's kind of pulled back. So I thought to see something a little bit different on this. So I'm not seeing much to tell us, 5-minute here after hours. It's sporadic. I don't even know if there's any trading there. I wanted to look at CLF. I just remember this channel has been so exact, and I just said, I'll check on it every so often. No position in it or anything. But I wanted to see how far it comes down to the lower trend line. If it acts, and we kind of bounced a little bit before it, which is fine. Just curious to see. It got very close to the 50 trend line. I have a contract left on DraftKings and kind of milking this one until tomorrow to expire on Friday. So I'd like to get this thing popping a little bit more. A small profit in it, and that's about it. So I'm probably going to end up taking this off tomorrow. Try to get that bigger bounce. Worked okay, but not, chopped around for a while. So again, you're always dealing with the degrading of the premium. The erosion of the price on that. So I want it to move faster. We'll start that again. The QuantumScape. That was an old SPAC. Popped, pulled back slightly, I guess, until we really exploded in that December-January melt up, that the overall market got sucked up, and then all these things got extended now. Again, all these SPACs and post-SPACs and anything that was involving SPAC usually pulled back a lot. And you can see this one's no different here, all the way back down to 23, 24, 25. And now kind of popped up here to 33, now back down to 28, 29. Starting to look interesting at this level. It is. I have to look into the QuantumScape a little bit more. I forget what that is. I know it has to do with the cars. I don't know if it was, I think it was electric cars. Let me see if anybody's answering in the room here. Nothing here. Let me check here fast. Gonna pass on it, but you know what? We looked at it first, but we're gonna pass on it. Doesn't look good. And again, just going through some of these, and again, the object there is just to have patience. Wait for your pitch, and a metaphor that we're familiar with. I'm not seeing anything here on this scan right here. Just going through all my scans. All right, let's take a look at a couple more, and then we're going to send this video out to the Interverse. AUPH has been acting very good, starting to ramp back up. Expecting a little bit more follow through tomorrow, and I don't know. Again, we have to take profits at one point on anything you want. Take profits on. So there's no guarantee where this thing can go. But I do think there's some positive news on the horizon for this, on their drug, their lupus drug. So I think they're waiting to see how the prescriptions are doing and what the count is versus what they started off with, and overall that. I don't know when that is due, but that might be something good to look into, is when they if anyone wants to take that charge and find out when they update the scripts counts. And basically, you know, Steve from Texas, I think he said he's going to be he has a meeting with one of the investor relation guys. I think he texted me that, or a friend of his does. Someone does, and they have one. He sent me all the questions he was going to ask, and there were a lot of good questions. So hopefully we get some good answer from that. I think it was that from AUPH or EXEL. I think that was for EXEL. Or no, it was the AUPH arena, because Arena Pharmaceutical, they could do a lot more for their you know, feedback and press and, you know, and social media for the drug that helps all these people with lupus, so they don't have to go into any type of severe dialysis or a you know the worst case scenarios. You know, it's helping a lot of people. So I'd like to see that follow through, but you should, you know, if you do have some shares from the gap down or from the recent pullback, you're starting to get overextended there. EXEL also kind of disappointing today. Just kind of sold off and broke back down underneath that channel line. Just did not look good. They're also coming out with some FDA trial stuff that's coming out. I could adjust these a little and see how that lines up here. It's almost perfect. You know, all these candles kind of closed underneath this area right there. All right. Anyway, that's we're just looking at that. The EXEL didn't really get any follow through. It was looking good. Now it's starting to look weak again. But there is a big catalyst out there. There's one of the trials, Cosmic, the Cosmic trial. I forget the number, 312 maybe. So that's that one, and that's it. But going into tomorrow, I think the snow is going to be the one I'm really watching, and for a big move if we could actually break through that 252 level. I have that all marked out on the other charts when you see them tomorrow. So watching for that, and I would add to that. The other ones are all looking pretty good. The FISV, I'm excited to see how that, when that turns, and if we could see it and really spot it and kind of mark it off, it will give us a signal. It just hasn't popped yet. Everything else is just working out good. Corning, even though I did take profits on it, it does look good. Boeing, Alibaba is a new one. I didn't mention the Alibaba, I don't think. And again, that's trying to be a little bit more patient. This is a swing trade. I picked up 50 shares and gonna just hold it. I think it's a good level down here off of the 310 level. It's back down to 210, 215 now. It feels a pretty good area. Look at that. Look at it where it came from, that support line. I put it all the way back here to 2018, which was the big breakout and pulled back, and we came down and tested it, and then we're basically right on it again. I mean, it's amazing how we're holding above it. Really amazing. And that goes out so far. All the way back out here. Then kind of tested here. Gaps up to it there, held it, gap down, came back, tested it, touched it exactly to the tick, come down, broke down through it on some volume, but came back and really held it, and then came back and held it again. And almost breaking out of the downward channel. So that is looking good. So Baba here, and Snowflake. On the horizon, let's just go over one more thing. And again, if you're getting this and you're not a member of Day Trading Radio, let me throw that in here. We broadcast live every day here at DayTraderRadio.com. And we're around for the members, so if you appreciate the show and use it a lot, please support the site by getting the membership. And then get all the trading tools available to you. Our great chat room. Hundreds of traders in there every day trading together. And some new things coming around. Of course, the Tradeometer, the Rockbot, the high probability watch list setups, the alerts, HPS alerts, the forums. What was I going to show you here? So I'm going over the channel breakout rotation watch list, and some of these are set up on like this, kind of that 3-part setup. We're waiting for the channel and the breakout and the rotation. So we're identifying lots of channels. Sometimes we identify the channel and the breakout, and we're waiting for the rotation. Some of them are just in the channel. We're waiting for that channel breakout and then rotation. Some here we have the we have the real breakout, and that thing's just gone. Again, JBHT. We even marked off. I mark off a lot of these charts when we first come to them, saying, "All right, this is your buy signal." If I usually put a circle in there, it's usually the day we talk about it. So you could see that was a really good one. That's very similar. Does look very similar to Corning. Very similar to Corning. So that was a channel set up here. Cliff Natural Resources went over that earlier this morning. So here we have CRNC. The 9.3 has gotten oversold. The 14.3 hasn't, and that might even hold some strength, and it's holding the 20-period moving average. I want to put the circle here because it does look pretty set up here. So I'm putting my circle there. That means if I don't take it, at least I know that it gave us a signal that we wanted. Channel breakout, first rotation. In this case, I'm not waiting for the 14.3. I think this is a nice turn back up, and I think this is showing better strength. It's holding the 20-period moving average. So it looks pretty strong. Disney, again, always watching it. It's trying to break out of the channel here. Dexcom, can you believe it? Can you believe this? I mean, this is the one that really got away. Ultra Clean Holdings, that's an interesting one. We have a dual stochastic channel breakdown. Blah. We have a channel breakout, first rotation. Channel breakout, first rotation, dual stochastic setup. We already got a pop on that. Now, NXPI, I like it. This looks great. It's a divergence. We should get the pop tomorrow through 200, off to the races. And then eventually we get that rotation. Eventually we get that pullback, first rotation back. Charge point here, very strong. It's starting to really grind up higher. I'd like to get that first rotation. This would be an ideal one for rotation play. Such a good channel. It's very organized. It would pull back. It would get oversold. It would be easy. So again, these are just in the future. They will set up. Tapestry here. This one was one. It was kind of set up there. It's actually pushing back up. This was a trade we had here. There's your channel breakdown and your first rotation. You see that? It's some people might look at it and say you're looking at a rising channel, which you are. And I always like looking at channels that lead into other channels. Or this way is a breakout, first rotation. It makes sense to go here. It makes sense to go here. Now retracement here, probably pullback from there. All these lines just add up in the algorithms. Every pivot area becomes part of an equation which the market reacts to. Some of them you see, some of them you don't see. Just because. Tractor Supply Company, nice bounce. DocuSign, nice bounce. Wow, look at that. I only have 19 of them. Plug Power, and then it'll start it with a snap again. Well, that's the ones I wanted to check, and I should give you an example of that. Now, how important that is, have that patience. So we're coming up on 6 o'clock. I want to continue on doing some research here But I'm going to get this video out. This is for tomorrow's watch list. And let me send that out now.